are colonizers. Yes, we are. I got to be honest about it. We really are. And I know white people right now are saying, I'm not a colonizer. Oh, you hurt my feelings. Well, you are. And probably in your mindset, in your ideology, you probably do have the mentality of a colonizer, because most white people do. And I'll tell you why. 500 years ago, our colonizing culture, white European culture, was born. And we set out to steal things, resources, and that were not ours. We colonized, we enslaved all over the world. We enslaved Africans. We tried to dehumanize them and tell them, manipulate them, and gaslight them by telling them that they are not equal to us, that they are as an animal, and that the only real human are white people. Oh, I don't see color. Oh, it's a black man's fault that he's in the position. Well, what about black on black crime? I mean, it goes on and on and on. You know, I mean, I could sit here all day and give you examples. All lives matter. I mean, it just goes on all day. Black people ask for justice. White people find a way to try to obscure it, to try to take away from it, to try to demean it. We are colonizers. And I say that based on our behavior, collectively as white people. That until we stop being gaslighters and colonizers, white people are on a path of self-destruction. White supremacy, the lies of white supremacy, the colonizing mentality has never brought the white man happiness, and it never will. It's toxic, dysfunctional, and self-defeating. And it's not helping us. And now there's all this white rage, because when the abuser loses control, he gets angry. And then Trump was born because we had a black president. And he was perfect because he was racist. And that's what white America wanted, because they're angry, because they felt like they were losing control. These colonizers have to have control. And we had a black president. And everybody just shit all over themselves. White people just freak the fuck out. Oh my God, we're losing control. We have a black president. He's going to oppress us and enslave us. God knows we're going to be whipped and lynched. This is literally, I think, some of the thoughts, the subconscious. I'm exaggerating, but in a way it's true. The greatest fear of the colonizer is all that evil, vile shit that we did will be done up unto them, us. And that's why there's so much white rage. The numbers are changing. Pretty soon, white people will not be the majority. The abuser loses control. So what do? We continue gaslighting. We continue with white rage. White domestic terrorism on the rise. The greatest threat in America. White people are enraged because they can no longer control their victims, black and brown people, the way that they want to. They're losing some of their power, some of their positions, some of their privilege. They feel threatened. So here we are, in a state of crazy, utter chaos. That's why I say the lies of white supremacy is our destruction.
From the age of restoration to modern global politics, the legacy of colonialism runs deep. But what if I told you that the colonizer mindset is not just history, it is still alive today? Many white people, knowingly or unknowingly, still operate with a mindset shaped by colonization.
Joe Biden's running for a second term. I know he's old, but he's better than Trump. I'll be voting for him. Yeah, me too. Wish we had a better option, though. Yeah, well, at least it's not Trump. We gotta pick the lesser of two evils. Yeah, I guess so. A few months later. Oh my God. Joe Biden stepped down, and now Vice President Kamala Harris is running for office. I don't know why you're excited, Nick. Kamala Harris is pro-Israel. She's a genocidal maniac. We're going to call her Genocide Harris. Wait a minute. Vice President Harris hasn't changed any policies or thought processes than Biden when it comes to Israel and Palestine. She would be way better for black people. She has a history of trying to make law enforcement and just the judicial system more transparent. Trump wants to take away those things and give police more immunity to kill us black people. Like, we're literally going through a slow genocide here as African Americans. I thought that y'all understood that. That's why y'all said we're brothers and sisters. The only real difference is that she's black. Well, now you want to make this a race thing. After we stood up for you during Black Lives Matter, you're going to vote for Genocide Harris? What the fuck are you talking about? Trump is literally going to do way worse in Palestine. You know that, don't you? Oh, I didn't say I was voting for Trump. I just said I wasn't voting for Kamala. Then who are you voting for? I didn't say Trump. And what about us here? As black people, we're going to be affected if Trump wins. Y'all will be affected too, but like we're going through our own genocide. Don't you care? Like we even promoted your movement during our movement, which was overshadowed by your movement and everybody else's. Let me just be honest. I'm not voting for a nigga.
Y'all are so blinded by hate. Let me tell you how racism is going to keep the middle class stuck. America has a long, ugly history of people hating black and brown folks so much so that they're willing to vote against their own survival just to keep their own racist ideologies alive. Time and time again, working class white Americans have been tricked into supporting policies that make them poorer, sicker, and more desperate, all because those in power tell them that they're going to punish black people and immigrants and other marginalized groups. Donald Trump's tax plan is the latest proof of this self-destructive cycle. His policies will hurt 95% of Americans, especially working class white Americans who make up a large percentage of his base, but yet they will still support him. Why? Because his campaign fuels their hate, distracting them from the fact that they too are being robbed. They are so determined to see black people struggle, so obsessed with upholding white supremacy that they will literally vote to make themselves poor if it means keeping the lie alive. Meanwhile, the ultra rich, who don't care about race at all, just about staying rich and in power, laugh as they continue to collect wealth off the backs of struggling Americans. Trump's tax plan is not just about economics. It's a weapon of mass distraction, designed to use racism as a smokescreen while the rich steal from the poor. This isn't anything new. It's the same trick used throughout history. From the days of slavery, when rich plantation owners convinced poor whites to fight for a system that oppressed them to Jim Crow laws, to today's voter suppression and economic exploitation. The question I have is, when will people wake up? How much suffering will it take for them to see that the real enemy isn't black and brown people? It's the billionaires and the politicians robbing them blind while feeding them lies. This is the truth that racists don't want to admit. The very policies they think will hurt black and brown folks will hurt them first. And when they find out that they've been used as pawns in a game that's designed to keep them struggling, it may be too late.
I'm going to step on a bunch of people's feet when I say this. You are not being discriminated against just because you are not centered in the story. I need people to marinate in that, sit with that. You are not being oppressed by other people talking about various histories or focusing on various literature. None of those things are directly harmful to you. The way some folks will literally try to spin it as if talking about, let's take an example, if talking about black history is harmful to them somehow. They never prove it. They never have any tangible examples of the actual harm of discussing black history. It's all based upon people's feelings, which if we're basing things upon people's feelings, there's a whole group of black people who would love to talk about our feelings about things. Our feelings are never considered in these conversations, but the idea that it is oppressive to certain groups of folks to learn black history is wild. That is somehow harmful and detrimental to these folks to learn actual history, things that have actually happened, as opposed to those things that actually happened, is wild. It shows me that y'all have never truly been oppressed because of your color of your skin. Like, y'all have never experienced that. When I'm having these discussions here on this forum and folks come on and they leave their comments when I ask them for examples of how this is oppressive to them, you know what some of those comments are? Black history section at the bookstore. Netflix having a whole black section. The black hair care aisle. Do y'all see how that's like wild that other people simply existing, simply talking about existing, or in the case of the hair care aisle, simply caring for our bodies is somehow oppressive to folks who are so used to being centered that they lose their marbles when they hear or learn or are confronted with the idea that other people exist in this world and may want a little scalp moisturizer or may want to read a book that talks about our experiences, or may want to watch a love story that features Black love. That's the worst you gotta deal with? The idea that other people simply exist? That's the worst you have to deal with? Also, let me say this, because y'all think that everything Black people do is cool without giving Black people credit for it. Oppression is not fun. Being oppressed is not cute. Being harmed in so many different ways just because of the people that you come from is literally not fun. And I don't know why so many people want to be oppressed. I mean, outside of the fact that y'all think that everything Black people do is cool. I mean, a bunch of y'all walk around with do-rags right now trying to get waves. And I'm like, baby, you enjoyed those cornfield looking locks. Like, that's fine. Baby, y'all don't even know what this stuff is for. A bunch of y'all were throwing oil in your hair and like y'all didn't know what that stuff was for. Like, it's weird. It's strange. It's odd. It's getting strange. It's okay if you're not centered in the story. It's okay. Other people exist. Other people could tell their perspectives. Other people matter too. Like, wasn't that y'all big thing that all lives matter? Isn't this a prime example of that? Breathe. It's okay. Other people exist. You'll be fine. You'll survive.
I still, for the life of me, will never ever understand how anyone believed that Donald Trump winning would be a better option or a better choice than Kamala Harris winning, or that Kamala Harris and Donald Trump would be exactly the same. Now, I'm one of those that understand, as a Democratic voter, how weak the messaging apparatus truly is. They're not the most clear on how they're different from Republicans on a multitude of different issues, Palestine being one. Now, with Kamala Harris, she was crystal clear on how she differed from Donald Trump on a lot of different issues, to include Palestine. But I think the Democratic Party as a whole did a lot of damage to Kamala and her chances in 2024 because they weren't clear. And I know for a lot of people in the Democratic Party, we give a lot of people the benefit of the doubt and believe that because these are adults, that they can find information on their own. I don't personally believe that. I have always believed that the overwhelming majority of voters in this country are illiterate when it comes to politics. So they're not going to know where to look, what to look for. And if they do start looking, they might start looking for confirmation bias of things that they already believe. So if they believe that there's no difference between the Democrats and the Republicans, the confirmation bias that they're going to look for is how the Democrats and the Republicans are similar on these issues. So it is incumbent upon the Democratic Party establishment to work on their messaging apparatus. Even if the Democratic voters are basically saying that they're not going to participate in protests, you won't be seeing them at these town halls, that they're going to be sitting out for the next 4 years, specifically the 92%. The politicians still have work to do. They still have to show that they are willing to fight. And for a lot of these Democratic politicians, they are not trying to meet the moment. They're not trying to meet the moment. A lot of these older Democrats are not trying to give up power to the younger generation. There's absolutely no reason why AOC and Jasmine Crockett shouldn't be front and center in the Democratic Party, because they are doing a lot of the heavy lifting. And a lot of these older Democrats are trying to engage in respectability politics with a party, a large portion of the country that doesn't give a fuck about respect. Even the current sitting president of the United States that is literally trying to undermine the Constitution. We are so beyond respectability politics. In the next couple of years, the Democrats have to work on their messaging apparatus. They have to break it down, Barney style, in a way that the dumbest voter in this country can understand. And I'm going to stress, the dumbest voters in this country can understand. I know that the Democrats are still trying to hold on to this PC messaging, but at this current juncture, we have to be comfortable calling people exactly what they are. Because if you fell for a Trump scam again, you are dumb. A lot of these Trump voters are losing their jobs, losing their benefits. Their families are being deported. They are literally watching their families being genocided because this man basically says he wants to turn Gaza into a resort town. So they need to understand just how dumb it was to vote for this man. You're not smart voting for a man that's literally telling you that he's going to harm you. You are dumb. And that's what the Democratic Party has to start with. That we have a bunch of dumb voters in this country. And when you start at that honest point, then you can actually start doing your messaging that becomes more effective. And you can sell the populist platform that benefits a lot of these voters, even the dumb ones.
You know, Republican voters love to say, Donald Trump is your president. Why can't you accept it? Donald Trump is your president. You need to get over it. But I hope you guys know, for most of us, we have accepted it. We understand he is the president. Some of us think the way he became president is a little shaky. Probably needs to have some extra eyes look into that. But at the end of the day, we know he's in the Oval Office. The problem is, it does not stop there, okay? It's never supposed to stop there. See, when you guys vote, and your leadership understands this, your representatives understand this, when you guys vote, you think voting that person in means you send them to Washington, and then they wave a magic wand, and they fix all of your problems. You think, I voted for Donald Trump, he won. Now, just by him being there, everything that I was concerned with before he became president is going to change. What do I have to follow up with him about? He's there, he's going to do it. But ladies and gentlemen, this is not Hogwarts, okay? This is not the Ministry of Magic. He's not showing up there and saying a spell or two, and you have lower grocery prices. You have more affordable health care. You have all the things that are currently making your life more difficult fixed. No, those changes take actual work, okay? They take negotiation. They take litigation. They take all of the pressure that comes from the people in order for our congressmen, our senators, and the president himself to act in our best interests, not in their own. It's funny you guys say you don't like socialism, but you seem to love the idea of the government taking care of all your problems once you get the people in there that you like. I'm very sorry, ladies and gentlemen, that is not our reality, okay? We absolutely need to keep questioning what these people do every single day. The pressure people have been putting on these senators, the pressure people have been putting on this congressman is why they are telling the muskrat that he can no longer act with unilateral power. I bet you if we weren't constantly asking, what does he do? Why is he doing it? How does he have the power to do it? Isn't this constitutional or unconstitutional? I bet you if those lawsuits weren't getting filed and those judges weren't looking into these cases because of the people constantly asking questions, we would not have seen any change on that matter. This is why the American people cannot just accept that he's president, go home, and not ask questions. That's how we got here to begin with. So instead of focusing on all of us complaining, I'm telling you right now, you guys need to be complaining a lot more.
It's obvious that many of you do not understand what restorative justice is. Restorative justice is compassion. Restorative justice is compassion for the victim first, for community, and it is also compassion for the offender. Restorative justice gives the victims an opportunity to be heard by community, by the offender. It gives victims the opportunity to say, this is what happened to me, this is what you did to me, and this is how it affected my life. Restorative justice gives victims a feeling of safety amongst the masses. It lets them know they are not alone. It validates the harm that has been caused to the victims and reminds victims that they have an entire community that loves and cares for them. Restorative justice is compassion for community because it brings community in to be witnesses, not mediators, but witnesses to a process in which our community restores order and brings the fold back together. Restorative justice is compassion for the community because it shows community that there is accountability here for each and every one of us, whichever side of accountability we stand on, whether we are being held accountable or the offender is being held accountable for the crimes they have committed against us. Restorative justice is compassion for the offender because what is the alternative? Lock them up and throw away the fucking key? Just discard them like they're trash? No. Restorative justice gives Shaheem the opportunity to hear what they've done wrong and come up with a plan with community to not reoffend anyone in community. Restorative justice gives Shaheem the opportunity to right their wrongs and come back home, to not be ostracized, to not be left without a people. And unfortunately, we don't practice restorative justice in our community. We fall back on the white man's idea of justice for Black lives, and that is just fucking punitive. In order for restorative justice to happen, Shaheem has got to be willing to come to the table. And these victims of Shaheem's have tried many times to communicate with Shaheem, but Shaheem does not value the lives of their victims. What Shaheem does is offends and then blocks, like the victims never even existed and certainly do not matter. And after Shaheem blocks their victims, then his flying fucking monkeys swarm their victims and makes the situation that much worse. Our community deserves better than that. And none of us are above accountability. I'm not trying to throw Shaheem away, but Shaheem has resisted the call-in one after another, and this has gotten bigger and bigger because the body count of victims continues to grow. And this community has to put a stop to it because Shaheem has a type, and I happen to be Shaheem's type of victim. And if I don't stop it from happening to someone else, I could be next. You could be next. And that fear right there is what destabilizes and disconnects our community. Restorative justice is in order so we can protect, care for, and clean our own communities without outside interference. And if you have a problem with people being doxxed, so do I. That's one of the things that we need to be talking to Shaheem about. If you have a problem with people calling Shaheem's job, Shaheem is a fucking therapist. And there is a level of accountability in that profession to do no harm. And you should also consider if Shaheem had respected their victims enough to actually sit down at the table and discuss the harm that they have caused in community, those victims would not now be seeking other alternatives for justice. Restorative justice is in order, and you've not seen it practiced very often, but that doesn't mean that this isn't it. That doesn't mean that this isn't it. You just don't like it because Shaheem is your problematic fucking fave.
Colonialism was not just about land and power, it was about a way of thinking, a belief that white civilization was superior, that non-white people needed to be civilized, and that taking resources, labor, and culture from others was justified. These ideas did not just disappear with independence movement, they became embedded in Western societies, shaping how white people see the world even today. Colonialism never truly ended, it just evolved. Today, we see it in economic control, where Western nations still dominate global markets and exploit resources in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. We see it in foreign policy, where military interventions are justified in the name of spreading democracy. And we see it in cultural appropriation, where Black and Indigenous culture are minded for fashion, music, and trends, without respect for the people they come from. The colonizer mindset is not just about power, it is about superiority. Many white people have been raised to believe that their way of thinking, governing, and living is the right way. This led to prioritizing attitude toward non-white nations, treating them as backward or in need of Western help. It is the same justification colonizers used centuries ago, just repackaged. The white savior complex is when white individuals see themselves as rescuer or non-white people, reinforcing a power dynamics where they are the heroes and others are the helpless victims. True change does not come from saviors. It comes from dismantling the system that created inequality in the first place. The colonizer mindset is not genetic, it is learned. And just as it was taught, it can be unlearned. White people who truly want equality must challenge their own assumptions, listen to non-white voices, and stop seeing the world through a lens of dominance. Decolonizing the mind is just as important as decolonizing nations. Thank you for watching, and do not forget to like and share this video. Until next time, cheers and have a good one.